The Interstellar Academy buzzed with noise as hundreds of young aliens filled the lecture halls. Today was a special class, something new, something shocking. Zilnara, a young alien girl from the Shorkin species, sat quietly near the back. Her skin was light green, and her 4 eyes blinked nervously. She had long, soft horns that curled behind her head and a small data tablet in her hands. Like many others in the room, she didn't know what today's lesson would be. Suddenly, the large screen turned on, and the room went silent. Professor Drolak, an old but wise insectoid alien, stepped into the center. He adjusted his translator device and said, "Today's topic is human reproduction." Gasps echoed across the room. Whispers followed. "Why are we learning about humans? They're strange. Too emotional. They don't even have a mating season." Zilnara raised an eyebrow. She had heard about humans before, but not much. They were new to the galactic system. Some said they were weak, others said they were dangerous. But nobody really understood them. The professor clicked the screen. A hologram of a human male appeared, spinning slowly in the air. "Humans," the professor said, "have no fixed mating season. Their males are always fertile." Now the room exploded in shock. "What? Always? That's impossible. They would be exhausted all the time." Even Zilnara couldn't hide her surprise. "That can't be right," she whispered. The professor nodded slowly. "Yes, it is true. Human males can reproduce at any time of the year. There is no cycle, no rest. Their species evolved with constant fertility. That's why their population grows so fast." Zilnara's face turned red with confusion. Her kind, like many other alien races, only entered a mating season once every 2 cycles. Males and females would react to specific biological signals. It was a simple, controlled system. But humans were wild. "Are there any questions?" the professor asked. One brave student near the front raised his hand. "Sir, does that mean humans can mate all the time?" Professor Drolak paused, then answered, "Yes, and many of them do. For emotional reasons, not just for reproduction." The class laughed. Some covered their mouths in shock. Zilnara didn't laugh. She looked at the human image on the screen. Her mind was racing. If this was true, it changed everything she thought she knew about reproduction, biology, and even social bonding. "Why haven't we studied them more?" Zilnara asked aloud. Professor Drolak looked at her. "Because humans are difficult to understand. They mix emotions with biology. Their behavior is unpredictable. Many species avoid deep study due to confusion and embarrassment." Zilnara frowned. That answer didn't sit well with her. She wanted to know more. After class ended, the students left in groups, still whispering and laughing about always fertile humans. But Zilnara stayed behind. She approached Professor Drolak and asked, "Is there a way I can study a human directly?" The professor's eyes blinked slowly. "You want to observe a human?" "Yes, for science." "I don't believe the data. I want to see it with my own eyes," she said. The professor hesitated. "There is one human male in the science wing, a volunteer for research studies, but be careful, Zilnara. Humans have a strange effect on people, especially young ones. Like you." Zilnara nodded. "I'll be careful. I only care about facts." As she walked away, her heart beat faster. She didn't understand why. Maybe it was excitement, or maybe it was fear. That night, in her room, she searched everything about human males. Images, behavior logs, emotional maps. Every time she read something new, her confusion grew deeper. They show affection without mating? They bond through emotion? They can make babies anytime? She rubbed her forehead and sat back. This species is madness. She muttered. But deep down, something else was growing inside her. Curiosity. She didn't just want to study humans anymore. She needed to. There was something strange about them, something powerful. She looked at the photo of the human male in the lab. His name was Ethan. He looked calm, confident, alive. "I'll visit you tomorrow," she whispered to the screen, "and I'll find out the truth." Zilnara couldn't sleep that night. The more she thought about humans, the stranger they seemed. She stared at the ceiling of her dorm, the stars outside blinking like tiny questions. She had seen thousands of species in the Galactic Academy, but none like the humans. How could a male stay fertile all the time? No rest? No cycle? No control? It felt like a lie, or maybe a joke. But something about it felt real. Too real to ignore. By morning, she was already walking through the cold, quiet halls of the science wing. Most students were still asleep, but her heart was wide awake. The door to observation chamber 3B slid open with a soft hiss, and there he was. Behind a clear energy wall stood a human male. Tall, strong shoulders, brown hair, relaxed posture. He sat on a bench, sipping something. Warm from a cup, not nervous, not tense, just calm. His name tag read, Ethan Reeves, human volunteer. Zilnara's steps slowed. This wasn't a creature. This wasn't some wild test subject. He looked at her with warm, curious eyes, and smiled. "Hey," he said casually. "You the new researcher?" Zilnara blinked. "Yes. I'm here to ask you questions, for academic reasons." Ethan grinned. "Sounds serious." Zilnara activated her datapad and cleared her throat. "First question, is it true you can reproduce without a mating season?" Ethan raised an eyebrow. "Wow, no hello first." Zilnara frowned. "Sorry, hello. Now answer, please," he chuckled. "Yeah, it's true. Human males don't have a season. We're always ready. It's kind of our thing." She stared at him. "But how do you survive? Doesn't it drain your energy?" Ethan leaned forward. "We don't think about it all the time. We control ourselves. It's not just biology, it's about emotion too." Zilnara scribbled notes quickly. Emotion. Again with emotion. So confusing. Ethan smirked. "Maybe that's what makes us interesting." She looked up at him, trying to hide her curiosity. "You mean you don't mate only to reproduce?" Ethan shrugged. "Sometimes it's for bonding. Sometimes it's just pleasure, comfort. It's complicated." Zilnara stared at her screen, then back at him. "You are a very unusual creature." He laughed. "Thanks. You're not so bad yourself." "What species are you?" "Shorkin. We only mate during the high sun cycle. Once every 2 years," she said proudly. "Wow, that's rare," Ethan said. "So when you're not in season, there's no interest at all?" "Exactly," she nodded. "No mating, no desire. We just focus on our tasks." Ethan raised his cup again. "Humans are the opposite. We mix feelings into everything. Makes life more exciting." Zilnara leaned closer to the energy wall. "And confusing." Ethan looked at her eyes, 4 glowing orbs filled with questions. "What's really bothering you, Zilnara?" She paused. You're kind. You break every rule of biology I know. You're unpredictable." He stood up slowly, walking to the edge of the wall. Now they were just a few inches apart, glass between them. "That's not a bad thing," he said softly. "Sometimes unpredictable means free." Zilnara's heart skipped. What was that strange warmth inside her chest? She shook her head and quickly closed her pad. "I've learned enough today." As she turned to leave, Ethan said, "Come back tomorrow. I've got stories. Maybe I can teach you more about us. The human way." Zilnara didn't reply. She walked away fast, her mind spinning. Back in her room, she paced in circles. Everything Ethan said challenged her logic, her training, her species beliefs. But one thing was certain now. This wasn't just a biology project anymore. This was the beginning of something much deeper. She didn't know what it was yet, but She was going back tomorrow. Zilnara returns for more answers, but Ethan's teasing words and strange behavior confuse her again. Is this still science, or something more? Zilnara wore her cleanest research robe. She told herself it was just another study day, just more data. But deep inside, something fluttered in her chest, a strange, excited feeling she didn't understand. This is for science, she whispered, staring at herself in the mirror. Not for him. As she entered the science wing, her steps slowed. She wasn't nervous around dangerous creatures or high-level machines, but this human? He made her think in ways she'd never thought before. When the lab doors opened, Ethan was already waiting, shirt half open, sitting upside down on a couch, juggling 2 round fruits. "Good morning, alien scientist," he said with a grin. "Ready to study my powerful human body again?" Zilnara's cheeks turned pale pink. "Please sit properly. I am here for observation." He flipped onto his feet and gave her a mock bow. "As you wish, Doctor." She rolled her eyes and activated her data pad. "We'll begin with today's behavioral scan. I will ask simple questions." Ethan leaned back and crossed his arms behind his head. "Hit me." Zilnara kept her voice calm. "When do you feel the need to reproduce?" Ethan smirked. "That depends. Are you asking professionally or personally?" She frowned. "Stop joking. I need real answers." "I'm serious," Ethan said, his voice softer. "Sometimes it's just biology, but most of the time it's emotion, connection, touch, eyes meeting across the room." Zilnara quickly typed notes, trying not to look up. "Why do you always mix emotions with mating?" she asked. "Because we're not machines," Ethan said. "We don't wait for a perfect time. When it feels right, we follow the feeling." Zilnara paused, thinking hard. Her people didn't understand feelings like that. Everything was chemical, predictable, scheduled. But Ethan made it sound beautiful. "Is this why humans form such deep bonds?" she asked. "Yes," Ethan said, watching her carefully. "That's how love begins, not from cycles, from choice." Zilnara's hands froze over her data pad. That word again, love. Her kind had no word for it. Only survival. Only continuation of the species. She looked at Ethan now, really looked. His smile wasn't fake. His words weren't tricks. He was trying to teach her something. And she didn't know how to handle it. Ethan stood and walked closer to the clear energy barrier. "You know," he said, "I think you're not just curious about biology." She narrowed her eyes. "What do you mean?" "I think you're curious about me," he said with a wink. "Not just human males." Zilnara's face flushed. That's incorrect. I am a scientist." Ethan laughed. Sure. But even scientists have hearts." She tried to change the subject quickly. "New test. I will measure your scent markers. Please remain still." Ethan leaned forward, closer to the barrier. "If I had a mating scent, would you like it?" Zilnara's hand shook slightly as she scanned him. "This conversation is highly unprofessional. And highly fun," Ethan whispered. She turned off the scanner and stepped back. "Session over." Ethan smiled again. "See you tomorrow, Doc?" Zilnara didn't answer. She walked away quickly, but her heart was pounding. Later that night, she sat in her room, re-watching the recordings, his smile, his words, his voice. This wasn't just science anymore. It was becoming personal. She tapped her datapad and wrote, "Subject shows high emotional awareness, makes contact easily, uses humor and charm as tools. Danger level, unknown. Emotional confusion detected." Zilnara stared at her last sentence. She crossed it out, then wrote it again. Zilnara agrees to leave the lab for one day and live like a human with Ethan as her guide. What she discovers about human bonding will shake everything she believes. Zilnara stood in front of the door with her hand trembling over the panel. She wasn't in her lab coat. She wasn't carrying her datapad. She wasn't here as a scientist today. She was just Zilnara, and that scared her more than any experiment. Doors slid open, and warm light spilled onto her face. Music played softly inside. The air smelled sweet like plants and something baked. She stepped in slowly. Ethan looked up from the small kitchen unit and smiled. "No scanner today?" he asked. "No," she said quietly. "You said I should experience the human way, so I'm here." Ethan nodded. "Good. Step 1. No research, just living." Zilnara glanced around. The walls weren't metal. They were wood, real wood. Warm colors. Soft chairs, blankets, human things. Strange things. A small dog-like creature jumped up from the couch and ran to her feet. She froze. "What is that?" she asked, backing up. Ethan laughed. "That's Max. He's harmless. He just wants to say hello." Zilnara slowly knelt, letting the creature sniff her hand. "He's warm," she whispered, "and soft. Like humans," Ethan said. Zilnara stood and walked further in. "What is that sound?" "Music," Ethan answered. "It helps us feel things. Memories, emotions. You want to feel the human way? Start with this." He handed her a small earpiece. She placed it carefully into her ear. The moment it clicked in, her chest tightened. She didn't understand the words in the song, but she understood the feeling, sadness, hope, longing. It was overwhelming. "I don't know what's happening to me," she said, eyes wide. "That's the point," Ethan said gently. "Humans don't always need to understand. Sometimes we just feel." Zilnara sat down slowly on the soft couch. "Everything here is soft. Your walls, your pets, your music, even your hearts." Ethan sat beside her. "Yeah, and that softness is what makes us strong." She looked at him for a long time. "We were told you were dangerous," she said. "We are," he replied, "but only when we have to be. Most of the time, we just want peace." Zilnara lowered her eyes. "My people don't bond this way. We don't share feelings, only cycles. No one touches unless it's mating time." Ethan leaned a little closer. "So how do you comfort someone, or show them you care?" "We don't," she said softly. "We work, we survive." "That's not living," Ethan whispered. Zilnara's hands were shaking again. She didn't know why. Her body wasn't in season. "This shouldn't be happening, Ethan," she said. "Something's wrong with me." He looked into her eyes. "No, something's right. You're feeling. That's what humans do, all the time, without waiting for a cycle." Zilnara blinked. Fast, her voice cracked. "Is this what love feels like?" Ethan didn't laugh. He didn't tease. He just nodded. "Yeah, it sneaks up on you. And when it does, everything changes." Zilnara looked down at Max, the little creature curled up against her leg. For the first time in her life, she felt like something inside her had opened. Not logic, not instinct, but something deeper. She reached out and touched Ethan's hand. "I'm scared," she said. "So was I," he replied, "when I first came here, but maybe we're not so different." They sat in silence. The music played. The lights dimmed. And in that quiet space, no scanner could measure what was happening. But it was real. And it was growing. Zilnara returns to the lab and secretly runs tests on Ethan's biology. What she discovers shocks even her. But when she tries to report it, no one believes her. Zilnara's hands were shaking as she inserted the blood sample into the scanner. The lab was dark, silent. She had snuck in after midnight, something she had never done before. But this couldn't wait. She had drawn the sample from Ethan secretly. Just a small prick on his finger during a shared joke. He hadn't even noticed. But she had to know, because what she was feeling wasn't normal. Not for her. Species. Not for any species. The scanner beeped and whirred. Lines of data ran across the glowing screen. Hormone levels, genetic patterns, cellular cycles. Then the results came in. Zilnara leaned forward and froze. Reproductive markers, active, constant, no fluctuation. Fertility, 100% potential all seasons. Emotional hormone link, strong. Aggression, low. Attachment, high. She stared at the last line. Emotional bonding triggers fertility response. Zilnara fell back in her seat. Her chest felt tight. It was true. Every strange thing she had learned, everything Ethan had said, was not just real, but scientifically confirmed. Human males didn't need a mating season. They didn't wait for a signal. They bonded. And then their biology followed. No wonder he affects me like this, she whispered. He's always ready. Because his heart is. She downloaded the data onto her private crystal chip and rushed toward the council wing. Inside the Council of Interstellar Biology, high-ranking alien researchers sat in cold silence. Zilnara stood before them, her voice steady but her hands clenched. I have proof, she said. Human males are always fertile. Not season-based, emotion-based. One elder, a gray-scaled reptilian, hissed. Absurd. Another, a jelly-bodied life form, rippled with disapproval. Impossible. Evolution would never allow that. Zilnara placed the crystal chip into the central projector. The air filled with numbers, scans, charts. Ethan's biology, on display for everyone to see. You. See? She said. This changes everything we know about cross-species reproduction. Humans are unlike anything else. The room remained silent. Then the lead scientist, a tall mantis-like figure, leaned forward. Or, you manipulated the data. What? Zilnara gasped. Your emotional involvement is noted. You have spent time with this human. You've grown. Attached, the elder said coldly. That makes you unreliable. I didn't fake anything. She shouted, this is real. Run the test yourselves. We will not, another voice said. This obsession ends here. Your credentials are suspended. You are dismissed. Zilnara stood there in disbelief, thrown out. Shamed. Silenced. That night, she stood outside Ethan's habitat dome, her fists clenched at her sides. He opened the door, his smile fading when he saw her face. What happened? He asked. They refused to believe me, she said. They said I was infected, that I let feelings get in the way of truth. Ethan stepped closer. Did you? Zilnara looked up into his eyes. Yes, but that doesn't mean I'm wrong. He nodded slowly. Then forget them. Science. We'll catch up. The truth always comes out. She looked away. But what do I do now? Ethan took her hand. You follow what your heart already knows. Zilnara stared at him. And what if my heart is confused? Then stay with me, he said softly. We'll figure it out together. Zilnara decides to go further, conducting a real-life experiment by spending full time with Ethan. But as science turns into connection, she begins to question what exactly she's testing anymore. Zilnara left her scanner behind. This time, she didn't wear her research robe. No gloves, no recording device, just herself. And a question that had started to burn deep inside her. What if she wasn't observing the experiment anymore? What if she was the experiment? She knocked gently on Ethan's door. When it opened, he wasn't wearing his usual smile. He looked at her differently now, like he knew why she was really there, even before she did. I'm ready, Zilnara said softly. I want to experience the human way, not for science. For me, Ethan nodded. Then come in. But once you cross that line, you can't pretend it's just research anymore. She stepped inside. Hours passed. They didn't talk about data. They didn't measure hormone levels. Instead, they made food together. She helped him cut vegetables with shaking hands. He taught her how to boil water, something she had never done herself before. Then they sat on the couch, too close. Her fingers brushed his by accident. She didn't pull away. Her body temperature rose slightly. Not because of a mating cycle, but because of how he looked at her, like she was the only one in the galaxy. "This feels dangerous," she whispered. "It is," Ethan said. "But so is falling in love." Zilnara blinked. "Is that what this is?" "I don't know," he replied. "But let's stop thinking and just feel." He reached over and gently took her hand. Zilnara didn't move. Her 4 eyes closed slowly. Her heart thudded in her chest louder than she'd ever felt it. No lab, no machine, no test, just warmth, just closeness, just him. Later that evening, Zilnara rested her head on Ethan's shoulder. She didn't understand what was happening to her body. She wasn't in mating season. She wasn't supposed to feel this way. Her kind had no word for it, but humans did. "Is this what bonding feels like?" she asked. Ethan smiled. "It's the beginning." Zilnara stared into the low lights of the room. "My people would never understand this." "Then stop trying to explain it to them," he said. "Just stay here with me." She nodded once, slowly. "I think I want that." The next morning, Zilnara woke up on the couch, wrapped in a soft human blanket, with Ethan asleep beside her. She watched his chest rise and fall. Calm, strong, human. She reached for her pad, but stopped. For the first time in her life, she didn't want to study him. She just wanted to stay close. But outside their quiet dome, things were changing. The Interstellar Biology Council had noticed her absence. Her logs were silent. Her ID hadn't been used in days. They sent drones to search her last locations. And they found one unusual reading. Her emotional levels were spiking continuously. Back in the dome, Zilnara looked at Ethan and whispered, "Maybe this experiment went too far." He opened his eyes slowly. Maybe it went just far enough. But before she could answer, her communicator lit up. Incoming message. Urgent council summons. Her heart sank. "They know," she said. "Then tell them the truth," Ethan replied. Zilnara stood, her body trembling. "But what is the truth?" "Anymore?" Zilnara returns to the alien council, no longer just a scientist, but a living example of human emotional bonding. The council is divided, and what happens next may change interspecies laws forever. Zilnara didn't walk into the council chamber like a student anymore. She walked like someone who had touched something forbidden and lived to tell the story. She wore no lab coat, no gloves, no data pad. Only truth. Behind her, the heavy doors closed with a deep metallic boom. Hundreds of alien eyes turned toward her, some angry, some curious, some afraid. At the center sat the High Council, their robes glittering like stars, cold, silent, powerful. Zilnara of Shorkin, one elder spoke, his voice echoing. "You were summoned 5 days ago. You ignored the call. Explain yourself." She took a deep breath. "I was completing the experiment." A wave of whispers filled the chamber. "You disobeyed protocol," another voice hissed. "You spent nights with the human subject, unmonitored, unreported. You crossed the line between science and understanding." Zilnara interrupted. Her voice was calm but strong. "I crossed into understanding." The council fell silent. She stepped forward, holding nothing in her hands but her words. "I was taught that humans are unpredictable, dangerous, wild, but I found something else." She paused. "I found that their strength is not in their muscles or weapons. It's in their ability to feel without rules, to bond without cycles, to love without conditions." The reptilian elder slammed his claw on the table. "Love is not science." Zilnara looked straight at him. "Then maybe science is missing something." A loud murmur followed. Some council members shifted uncomfortably. Others stared at her in stunned silence. Zilnara stepped onto the speaker's platform and looked out at them all. "You think my emotions made me weak, but they made me see." Human males don't follow mating seasons because they don't wait to connect. They are always ready to give, always ready to feel. That is not chaos, that is choice. The room grew colder. The head of the council, a towering being with crystal-like skin, stood. And what proof do you offer that this connection is anything more than contamination? Zilnara raised her chin. I offer myself. Gasps filled the room. I am not infected. I am informed. I didn't lose myself. I found something deeper than logic. Deeper than tests. She looked up at the council, fire in her eyes. I found something that could unite species, not divide them. From the side of the chamber, footsteps echoed. Everyone turned. Ethan stepped into view. No guards stopped him. No barriers blocked him. He walked beside Zilnara and took her hand right in front of everyone. Whispers turned to chaos. The elders yelled. Some stood. Some demanded his removal. But one voice, an older alien female with silver markings, raised her hand for silence. I was born into a system where touch was forbidden, she said. But I have watched this human closely. I've never seen a creature more capable of gentle power. She looked at Zilnara and nodded. Let her speak. The council went quiet again. Zilnara turned to Ethan. He gave her a small smile. Finish it. She faced the chamber once more. We cannot erase what I now know. Humans are not just biological puzzles, they are bridges. Maybe the reason they are always fertile is because they are always open to life, to love, to possibility. She stepped down, leaving her words hanging in the air. The council didn't speak. They couldn't. Days later, Zilnara walked through the academy halls not as a student, not as a scientist, but as the first member of the newly approved Human-Alien Emotional Study Program. Some still whispered behind her back, but others? They smiled. Some even reached out and touched her hand, and every night when she returned home, Ethan was waiting with music, warmth, and open arms. No seasons, no limits, just love, the human way.